If you feel hatred with extreme ideation, whether toward others or yourself, suspect silent trauma that may have affected your feelings. Hatred is one of the most powerful and destructive emotions. When it reaches extremes, whether directed outward toward others or inward toward the self, it often surprises the person experiencing it. You may wonder, why do I feel so much rage? Why do I imagine hurting myself or someone else, even when I don't truly want to? The answer may not lie in your current situation alone. Instead, it often points to something deeper, hidden or silent trauma from early life that continues to shape your feelings, thoughts, and behaviors long after the original wounds have been forgotten. Why do some people react so strongly to rejection? Research in attachment and trauma shows that when children experience emotional disconnection or neglect in their first 3 years, their developing brain wires itself for survival rather than trust. As adults, this early wiring can lead to black and white thinking, feeling either fully accepted or completely hated. Even small slights, like being ignored, misunderstood, or not validated, may feel like proof of being unloved. Often, this painful sense of being hated doesn't stay inside. It gets projected onto others, leading to defensiveness, mistrust, or hostility. While this pattern cannot always be proven by science in the strictest sense, it is supported by decades of clinical observation, attachment research, and brain studies on how early trauma shapes emotional reactions. The good news is that these feelings are not destiny. By understanding where they come from, people can begin to respond with more self-compassion, repair trust in relationships, and break the cycle of rejection and hate. What is silent trauma? Silent trauma refers to emotional wounds in childhood that are not obviously abusive. There may be no beatings, no visible scars. Instead, they stem from experiences like being left alone or with strangers during the crucial first 3 years of life, witnessing parental conflict, threats, or emotional withdrawal, losing the emotional attention of a parent after the arrival of a sibling, growing up with neglect, inconsistency, or emotional unavailability. Because these events occur when the brain is still rapidly developing, especially between birth and age 3, children usually cannot recall them consciously. Yet, the impact is profound. As Dr. Roland Kim emphasizes, silent trauma quietly seeds anxiety, depression, addiction, suicidal thoughts, and even homicidal ideation. How silent trauma translates into hatred. Unprocessed trauma gets stored in the nervous system. Later in life, the unresolved pain can transform into extreme emotions and ideations. Hatred towards self, expressed as self-blame, self-sabotage, eating disorders, or suicidal thoughts. Hatred toward others, expressed as prejudice, black and white thinking, cruelty, or even violent fantasies. A crucial mechanism lies in how the traumatized brain interprets relationships. People who experience trauma in their critical years, especially within the first 3, tend to think in rigid black and white terms. Subtle slights, delays in attention, or moments of emotional non-validation are felt not as small disappointments, but as devastating rejections. In such moments, the inner child interprets, "I am hated." This distorted perception does not stay contained. The unprocessed feeling of being hated is often projected onto others. The survivor may assume others secretly dislike or reject them. They may become overly defensive or hostile, convinced they are being attacked. Or they may reject others first to avoid the pain of being rejected again. In this way, silent trauma shapes not only the way we feel about ourselves, but also how we perceive and treat others, fueling cycles of alienation, hatred, and despair. Why hatred feels too much? Hatred linked to trauma often feels disproportionate to the situation. A slight from a friend may ignite overwhelming rage. A minor mistake can trigger crushing self-hatred. That too much quality is the clue. Your nervous system is not just reacting to today's event, it is replaying the pain of abandonment, neglect, or fear from long ago. Recognizing the signs. Silent trauma survivors may experience obsessive rumination on suicide or revenge, sudden anger outbursts or extreme irritability, compulsions such as weapon collecting, excessive gaming, or substance use as coping mechanisms, distorted perceptions of self, I am worthless, or others, people are all evil, chronic sense of rejection, even in safe or loving relationships. If you notice these tendencies in yourself or someone close to you, it's a signal, not of hopelessness, but of a hidden wound crying for recognition. Path toward healing. Name it. Understand that extreme hatred often points to hidden trauma rather than present-day failure or evil. Seek empathic connection. Trauma heals when someone listens, understands, and stays present. Empathic parenting, therapy, or even safe friendships can help repair the early rupture. Process the feelings. Instead of suppressing or punishing your rage, work with it. Journaling, therapy, and somatic practices allow the energy to transform into awareness. Break the cycle. Left untreated, trauma fuels addiction, self-destruction, or hostility toward others. With recognition and support, it can instead become the starting point for resilience and compassion. Final thought. If you feel overwhelming hatred, whether directed outward or inward, don't dismiss it as random or shameful. See it as a message from the deepest parts of your psyche. Behind the hatred lies a wounded child who once needed love, safety, and understanding but did not receive it. By uncovering and addressing these silent traumas, you can not only free yourself from destructive ideations, but also prevent the cycle of pain from continuing into future generations. In sum, extreme hatred is rarely just about the present. It is often a symptom of hidden trauma, especially from the first 3 years of life, where rejection was felt as annihilation and later projected onto others. Recognizing this truth is the first step toward healing, compassion, and a safer future for yourself and others.